Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 19. Maya Javani Kachanam Ajñadhoksha Jamavyayam Nalakshyashe Mutadrisha Nato Natyataro Yatha.
Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the internally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized.
Text 20. Tatha paramam haham sanam muninam amalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartham katham pasye mahi striyaha.
You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service onto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly?
Text 21. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses.
Text 22. Namaha Pankajanaphaya Nama Pankajamalini Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangrahe.
My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses.
Text 23. Yata Hrikesha Kalena Devaki Kamsena Ruthati Chiram Sucharpita Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho Tvayeva nathena muhurvitat ganat.
O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lords of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by envious king Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers.
Text 24. Vishan Mahagne Purushata Darshanat Ashasta Bhayavana Vasakritrataha Mridhe Neka Maharathashtrato Dranastratastasma Hare Pirakshitaha.
My dear Krishna, your worship has protected Your lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Asvatama.
Text 25. Vipada santu tasasvat tatra tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsvad apunar bhavadarshanam.
I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths.
Text 26. Janmeshvarya Shruta Shribhi Edhamana Madapuman Nevarhatya Bhidhatum Vai Tvamakinchana Gocharam.
My Lord, your worship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty cannot approach you with sincere feeling.
Text 27. Namo Kinchana Vittaya Nivritta Guna Vrittaye Atmaramaya Santaya Kevalya Pataye Namaha.
My obeisances are unto you, who are the priority of material impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are most gentle and are masters of the
Text 28. Manye tvam kalamishanam anadinithanam vibhum samam charantam sarvatra bhutanam yanmitha kalihi.
My Lord, I consider your worship to be eternal time. My Lord, I consider your lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller without beginning and end, the pervasive one in disturbing your mercy, distributing your mercy. You are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse.
Text 29. Naveda kaschit bhagavam stikirshitam tavehamanasya ninam vidambanam nayasya kaschitayitosti karhichit dvesyascha yasmin vishamamati ninam.
O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You have no specific object or favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial.
Text 30. Janma karma cha visvatman ajasya karturatmanaha tiryanushishu yathashu tadatyanta vidambanam.
Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work, though you are inactive, and that you take birth, though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend amongst animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering.
Text 31. Gopya dade tvayi kritagashidamatavat yate dashashu kalilanjana sambhamaksham Vaktram niniya bhaya bhavanaya stitasya sama vimohayati bhirapiyat pibeti.
My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflowed with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me.
Text 32. Kechirahur ajam jatam punya slokasya kirtaye yadopiyasyan bhavaye malasyasye vachandanam.
Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Himalaya hills.
Text 33. Apare vasudevasya devakyam yachitopyagat ajasvamasya keshmaya vadhaya cha suradvisham.
Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods.
Pavaravatarán nanye bhuvo nava ivo tadha sidantya bhuri bharena jato hyatma bhuvarthitaha.
Others say that the world...
No, and yet. 35.
Oh, 35. Wait, what? 35.
34.
34. Others say that the world being overburdened like a boat at sea is much aggrieved at, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble.
Text 35. Havesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karmabhi shravanam smaranarhani karisyan iti kechana.
And yet others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation.
Text 36. Shrinvanti Gayantri Grinantyabhishikshnaha Smaranti Nandanti Tavehitam Janaha Taeva Pasyantya Chirena Tavakam Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padambujam.
O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the recitation. Wonderful prayers. So, Am I host? Can I share my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. So let's screen 3. Share. So here we are. Yeah. So we are going to discuss 1:8:20, the third verse from Queen Kunti's prayers. So let's chant. Is there any suggestion? Yeah. No. Okay. Let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiret Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtaki तथा परमहंसानां मुनीनां अमलात्मनां भक्तियोगविधानार्थं कथं पश्येमहि स्त्रियः तथा परमहंसानां मुनीनां अमलात्मनां भक्तियोगविधानार्थं कथं पश्येमहि स्त्रियः तथा परमहंसानां मुनीनां अमलात्मनां भक्तियोगविधानार्थं कथं पश्येमहि स्त्रियः. So that's the verse. Let's chant. Let's see the word by word translation. Tatha, besides that, Paramahamsanam, of the advanced transcendentalist, Muninam, of the great philosophers or mental speculators, Amala Atmanam, those whose minds are competent to discern between spirit and matter, Bhakti Yoga, the science of devotional service, Vidhana Artham, for executing, Katham, how, Pashyema, can observe, he, certainly, Striyaha, women. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Joy. Translation. You yourself designed to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? Purport. Even the greatest philosophical speculators cannot have access to the region of the Lord. It is said that in the Upanishads that the supreme truth, the absolute personality of Godhead, is beyond the range of thinking power of the greatest philosopher. He is unknowable by great learning or by the greatest brain. He is knowable only by one who has his mercy. Others may go on thinking about him for years together, yet he is unknowable. This very fact is corroborated by the queen who is praying the part of an innocent woman. Women in general are unable to speculate like philosophers, but they are blessed by the Lord because they believe at once in the superiority and almightiness of the Lord, and thus they offer obeisances without reservation. The Lord is so kind that he does not show special favor only to one who is a great philosopher. He knows the sincerity of purpose. For this reason only, women generally assemble in great number in any sort of religious function. In every country and in every sect of religion, it appears that the women are more interested than the men. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's chant the Mangala Charana. Om Ajnantimirandhasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Vishram Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Saavadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारिणम् यं प्राव्रजेतमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजु आवापत्रे पुत्रेति तन्मयतयोतरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि यन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तं सञ्जीवयत्य अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणात् प्रगादिन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। So 1:20 from Srimad Bhagavatam. तथा परमहंसानां मुनीनाम् अमलात्मनां भक्ति योग विधानार्थं कथं पश्येम हि स्त्रियः. Translation is, you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service into the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? So, this is Srila Prabhupada has given class on this particular verse at several places. So, it was easy for me to do the reference work and just repeat what our Acharya has said. So, let's start. Here, if we see the second verse, which has been discussed yesterday and day before yesterday, first is Namasya Purusham Tvadyam Prakrutam Ishwaram Prakrute Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahiravastitam. Let's go to that verse. It's a very, very beautiful prayer. It's a whole Kunti Devi's prayers are amazing. So, yeah, Kunti Vacha Namasya Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakrute Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahiravastitam. So the first thing when the prayer starts is her profound depth of conviction of her bhakti. At the same time, her mood of being such a submissive, amazing devotee. And that's why she says that, Srimati Kunti Devi said, "O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all." The next verse is another wonderful verse. We'll talk about it in a minute. But the important point in the first verse itself is, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. So Lord is actually paying obeisances to her. He is touching her feet. He is taking the dust from her lotus feet and putting on his head. The Supreme Lord, and she knows that it is a position. He is just following the social etiquettes, the customs, and the rules of this world, which are set by him as per the scriptures, and he's following that. But at the same time, she knows that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the first verse she's offering in her prayers. If you go to the second verse, Maya Javanika Chandam Adnyadhokshajam Avyayam Na Lakshase Mudha Drusha Nato Natyadharoyata Yatha. So she's saying being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. What she's saying here is, it's like if we see, for example, just it's a difficult for us to even imagine if there is a drama or if there is a movie, and if we see the director is one, the actor is the same, the the main audience is the same, and of course all jivatmas as well are, the organizer is the same person, and at the same time he's at the background, he's the one who is doing everything, and that's the supreme lord. So she's saying here that you are the you are the organizer, you are the main puppeteer of this entire show, what is happening here. And she has that complete convictions that everything is happening because of you. And then later on we will discuss, not today, someone else will discuss, the other speaker, how she comes to the conclusion of the bhakti, ultimate conclusion of the bhakti through her prayers. So tomorrow's verse is Krishnaya Vasudevaya, and that is, she talks about the Braja Bhakti there. So her whole prayer gives the flavor of magnanimity, the love, the Braja Bhakti, and everything. How his supremacy. It's an amazing prayer. And then we will come to today's one, and here she's saying that her humility, her submissiveness, because she says, Katham Pashyema Histriyaha, we women, how can we understand? Because you are meant, your magnanimity will be understood by Paramahamsas, and we'll talk about what is Paramahamsa, the terminology, how that is derived. That's her submissiveness is the prime symptom, is the prime quality of Vaishnava. Krishna has come to take the dust from her lotus feet, as we talked about. And in worldly terms, she's an aunt of the Lord, and in that perspective, Krishna used to give the complete respect to her. But Kunti Devi is a very, very exalted personality. Practically at the level of Mother Yashoda, as Prabhupada quotes in his lectures. She says, you're so great and wonderful that you are the Paramahamsas and I am just a simple woman. Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Striya Vaishya Tatha Shudranam, and also he talks about in Srimad Bhagavatam about these are the of course, along with that, he talks about Dvijabandhu. It's basically the people who are born in quote unquote Brahmin or Kshatriya family, but they are not qualified to follow that Varnashram. The example Prabhupada gives is son of a doctor or judge can't be a doctor or judge. They have to qualify themselves. And in today's world, especially in Kali Yuga, a lot of people falsely claim that they are Kshatriya or they are Brahman and all that, and that defeats the purpose of studying the scripture, as Lord says, Chaturvarnam Maya System Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. The four varnas according to the qualities and their activities and what they do every day. So most of the people, as Prabhupada used to say, are the Kalau Shudra Sambhava. Most of the people are fourth class or Shudras in this. And those who are pretenders, who claim to be Brahman or Kshatriya, Prabhupada says they are even worse than Shudras. So Srila Prabhupada, here one thing, it's a glorification of Prabhupada as well, because he's such an amazing, magnanimous personality. So Prabhupada was so merciful that he opened the door for every one of us to become Brahman. What is that? The famous verse we usually talk about. Janmana jayate shudraha samskara dvija uchyate. Vedabhyasa bhavet vipra. Brahma janati brahmana. So he allowed us to become Brahman. So whether it is Striya, Vaishya, Shudra or Chandal, anybody, dog eaters, he opened the door for everyone to go through that process of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and come to the level of Brahman. And we, and for just for, if we think about it, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada is we should have that immense gratitude and that submissiveness while following this path of bhakti. How important those qualities are, that we will come to in few minutes. But the gratitude towards our acharya, towards our Guru Parampara and our spiritual master. He has freely distributed the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to all of us. I think Jiva Goswami in Priti Sandarbha, I think, as I have heard, he gives the very beautiful analogy about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says that Mahaprabhu is like a mad emperor who has opened the treasure and he's distributing that treasure very freely. So emperor's treasure is not a small treasure. It has every precious jewel and metals and everything we can think of. So Mahaprabhu has opened that treasure, and whomever has a desire, whomever comes in front of Mahaprabhu, he just openly distributes that. Jiva Goswami says. Srila Prabhupada has given that access to the treasure to all of us, and that's something phenomenal. The verse Prabhupada quotes in this context is this one: Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. And that's what the opening of the door says. It's a it's a long purport, but very important. Anyone who wants to know more, they can go through the purport later on. Very beautiful points Prabhupada has given in this purport. So we were talking about Varnashram Dharma, and current Varnashram is a Vikrit Varnashram that has killed Vedic civilization. And Prabhupada has emphasized in his lecture about this particular point. He says that ISKCON is reviving the Vedic culture and civilization. And he says our objective is not just following the rules, but to have a good and consistent sadhana, develop loving relationship among the devotees, and expand this movement. This movement is for everyone. When one becomes a devotee, the bodily platform vanishes, and when anyone voluntarily accepts the path of Krishna consciousness, that person is the most intelligent person. Lord Chaitanya confirms this fact again and again, and Prabhupada had a tremendous emphasis on this particular principle in many of his lectures, almost all of his lectures. He gives that, and the verse he gives in the context is this one: Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhaktilata Bij. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna, by the mercy of both Krishna and spiritual master. Such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. And as I think all of you must have already studied Nectar of Devotion, the growth of Bhakti Lata, how that happens, and what are the precautions we should take, and we should progress in Krishna consciousness. That is very methodically given by Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion. So, moving further, ordinary man or woman who is interested in sense gratification or the worldly life, they have an atheistic or envious or attitude towards the Supreme Lord. Now, a lot of times, question comes to our mind that why the common man will have envious attitude towards the Lord, and how that envy appears in anyone's heart. His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj has given a very beautiful seminar a few years back on the deadly disease of envy. It's there on YouTube as well. He spoke about it in our manner, in Bhaktivedanta manner. So what happens is we get that sense of discrimination. That's I am better than somebody, and that's because Lord has shared his opulences with us. And when we have the opulences, most of the times the conditioned living entity thinks that I deserve those opulences. For example, if somebody is some young lady is very beautiful, very charming, very elegant, and she's very neat and tip top and a lot of wonderful qualities. Obviously, she will be very attractive, and because of that, if she has the fortune of having a lot of wealth as well, there will be a lot of servants and everything. And because of that, that lady will think that I deserve this. Naturally, because of that, there will be a pride. And when there is a pride, there is envy. Pride and envy are the two sides of the same coin. And that is considered as a less intelligent person. And in that context, Lord or our acharyas talk about the people like Vaishya, Shudra, or women, because there is a sense of something I deserve. This is mine. And in opposite side, if we see, Kshatriyas are supposed to have that opulence, but at the same times, when time comes, Kshatriya retires from all that. They wear rags and they just go towards the forest and leave this material world. Brahmanas, they follow the same path. In fact, Brahma Janati Brahmana, when the realization of that Brahma realization happens, the Brahmana is supposed to live a life of intense austerities. And if we see the Brahmanical culture, Brahmins used to beg every day. That develops very intense humility in a person. They're not supposed to have accumulation of wealth. Their job is to just yajan patan pratigraha dan, just give the knowledge and host the ceremonies for the sacrifice. So such an important, but at the same time they have profound understanding and the knowledge of Vedic scriptures and the humility. So that is the reason Lord or our acharyas explain that Dvijabandhu, Vaishya, Shudra, and women, if there is a pride and a sense of yes, I deserve something, that is considered as a less intelligent person. And here Kunti Devi says, out of her intense humility, "Oh Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but here you are still giving me respect because of my social position." And if we see here that we'll come to the point of Paramahamsa now, why she brings that particular point here. In the previous verse, we just saw that she says, Alaksham Sarvabhutanam. You are not seen by an ordinary man, although ordinary people, although you are both inside and outside. We saw, I think, in our last session, we talked about some of the verses from the 13th chapter. So here, the 16th verse, the supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is settled, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is near to all. Vairantascha bhutanam charam charamevacha sukshmatvat tadavidneyam durastham chantike. And then the super soul, as he appears among all living beings, and how Lord knows everything. The name of this chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhag Yoga. Kshetra means the field. Jna, the dhatu in the Sanskrit, it means knower, and Vibhaga, the division between the field and its knower, the knower, and that's what the title Prabhupada has given: nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. So all 13th chapter is, we can see here actually, when we go through Bhagavad Gita, understand what Lord is saying in Bhagavad Gita, all the sections of 3 sections and the subsections of it. And Kunti Devi's prayers have covered the actual crux of Bhagavad Gita in all the verses. And I found, when I read Kunti Devi's prayers for the first time, I was absolutely amazed how everything she has covered from the scriptures, from the entire path of bhakti, is there in all the prayers. Beautiful. So, and then in second verse she says, Nalakshase mudha drishya. Fools and rascals can't see you, but you are the ultimate doer. And here she can see everything as his creation, and he is transcendental to the material creation. Her humility is just a par excellence. And Lord Chaitanya's teachings of Trinadapi Sunichena, the famous verse, which is discussed, which is recited every morning in all our temples, we can see the personification of that verse here in Kunti Devi's prayer, the perfection of that. So Srila Prabhupada says, we are living in the ocean of material miseries, and there is going to be a danger at every step. In fact, we should anticipate that it may come anytime. I mean, the danger he's talking about. Whether we are in a small boat or a big ship, we will get affected by the waves of that danger. We can't expect peaceful life. Only devotees have a ray of hope because they are holding the lotus feet of Guru and ultimately Krishna. So what's the verse Srila Prabhupada is referring to here? Samashrita ye padapallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho murari bhavam budhir vatsa parama padama padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. So that's the verse Prabhupada is actually referring to. So what that verse says, Samashrita ye padapallava plavam. Sama ashrita. Ashrit means taking shelter. Sama means always. Equally. Always taking shelter of whom? Padapallava plavam. It is a Lord's lotus feet is the boat in this ocean of miseries of the material world. Padapallava plavam. And when we hold on to the lotus feet of the Lord, Mahat padam punya yasho murare. Mura was a demon, and he was expert in creating the illusion, and because of that the miseries in the material world, and it was killed by the Lord. So very beautiful verse it is. The second line, it says that Mahat padam punya yasho murare. So only winner in this material world is the person who holds on to the lotus feet of the Lord. and that is the only pious activity any living entity is supposed to do. Mahat padam punya. Punya means pious activity. Punya yasho murare. Bhavam budhir vatsa parama padam padam. So what that means is, Ambu means water. Bhava Ambu, in this ocean of material miseries, what's the miseries will become uh, as small as the water in the footprint of a calf. The ocean will appear like a water in the footprint of a calf. What's means calf? What's a paramapadam? Padam padam yad vipadam natesha. If we don't do that, because at this we need to understand the last point here. Every step there is a danger in this material world. So that's the verse Prabhupada was referring to. So when we become a devotee, Maya Devi will test us at every step. Srila Radhanath Maharaj emphasizes this point very intensely. He says that we have to be very fearful of Maya. Prabhupada used to say that to all the Western devotees, and now the whole world has become in the clutches of this so-called Western civilization. And when we become a devotee, we need to make sure that Maya Devi is going to test us even more rigorously and more than a non-devotee, because she has an assigned task to test the devotee, and it's a thankless task. Whether we are serious or just whether we are what she is testing is whether we are serious devotee or just a disturbance to Krishna. So that's her job, and our objective is to remain steady and not be neglectful. One who is not disturbed, that person is called Paramahamsa. Prabhupada says that, and that's where this term comes. Hamsa means swan, and this is again the humility and gratitude of Kunti Devi. We are Tatha Paramahamsanam, she's saying. So, as we all know, that swan has a peculiar quality. If we give a mixture of milk and water, if we mix it 50% and give it to the swan, swan will inject some of the proteins from his saliva, and then that will separate the milk and water, and he will just suck the milk and then leave the water in the container. He has that unique quality. And like Hamsa or the swan, if anyone takes only the spiritual essence of our life and of our day-to-day life and our devotional life, who knows that Krishna is the center of all activities of our everyday and everything else is a secondary, that person is called Paramahamsa. Parama means supreme, and Hamsa means the swan. The supreme swan is the person who understands what is matter and what is spirit, what is material and what is spiritual, and that's what Kunti Devi is saying here. She is a Paramahamsa. She's a Paramahamsini, we can say. So Muninam, what is Muni? Those who are thoughtful or thinkers and wise decision makers. So mental speculators are also Muni. Are also called Muni. But the next part of this verse is Amala Atmanam. Amala means dirt. Amala means clean, dirtless. Atmanam, the person, which means that there is no dirt in their heart. That is, what is that dirt in the heart? Lust and greed. And a pure-hearted person will only understand your supremacy, O Lord, she's saying here. And that's her humility, that's her gratitude. Throughout the prayers, we can see that so beautifully she is showing all the qualities of a Vaishnava. And after reading the prayer several times, what I realized in the prayers is, and all our acharyas must have commented this as well. Here, her womanhood is actually a benediction because she's humble, pure-hearted, perfect in her prescribed duties, received complete love and mercy of the Lord, and has exceptional intelligence to follow the path of bhakti. If we see her life, she has given a perfect advice as a mother. When the time came that Draupadi became wife of Pandavas, she stepped back and gave the ownership, we can say, of that whole family to Draupadi, and she was just following the role of mother-in-law, just to advise as and when needed, to give the blessings, to be a perfect well-wisher. So she has that saralata, the simplicity, which is very important in bhakti. And Krishna bestows his mercy, especially Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentaries. He emphasizes on this point, and obviously Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this as an important point as well. That Krishna bestows his mercy only by his mercy, and devotee will understand this point. A non-devotee will not understand this. And we sing this every morning in our temples. Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada. Yasya prasada nagati kutopi. So without the mercy of the spiritual master and our Guru Parampara, we can't get that mercy. And without that mercy, there won't be any progress in bhakti. On our own, any person, we cannot progress on the path of bhakti. There has to be the mercy of the Lord, of the spiritual master, and the Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya established the principle of bhakti first by manifesting the qualities, what Kunti Devi is manifesting here, and that is simplicity, humility, tolerance, and servitude. As we know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he met Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, and he said that, why are you sitting here? And that time Mahaprabhu said, because my spiritual master said that you're just a fool, so you should chant the holy name. So he showed that quality. He was not pretending. He was genuinely saying that, because they were all Mayavadi scholars at that time, studying 12 hours a day just of Vedic philosophy. And that's where he said that simplicity, humility, tolerance, and servitude, those qualities Mahaprabhu emphasized always, and he manifested that in Varanasi. And then when because of his humility and his amazing personality, they called him inside, and then Mahaprabhu preached the path of bhakti, and those all people eventually became Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada wanted all of us to be devotees than being scholars or great philosophers or mental speculators or yogis. If you have qualities like Queen Kunti, and hence mercy of Guru and Krishna, we will have a complete understanding of the philosophy automatically. The interesting example which comes to our mind is Gaurkishore Das Babaji. He was not a profound philosophical scholar, whereas his disciple, our Param Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, he was a phenomenal scholar, hence it's exceptional scholar, and he took initiation from Gaurkishore Das Babaji. And as and when Gaurkishore Das Babaji was approached by his disciple, he gave a profound philosophical advice. His whole life was just a perfection of devotional service. So what this means is, when there is a mercy of Krishna and spiritual master, and when we have the qualities of this simplicity, humility, tolerance, and servitude, automatically we will, and because of the mercy of the Lord, we will have the complete understanding of the philosophy. And at that point of time, we don't need to have the Vedic scholarship or anything. All the gopis, as we know, they were not Vedic scholars, but they are the perfect devotees, as Mahaprabhu says, instruct Srinath Chakravarti Thakur in that famous verse, Aradhya Bhagwan Brajeshatanaya Stadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachita Upasana Vrajavatu Vargenaya Kalpita. That is the ultimate perfection of bhakti, of the devotional service, that is gopis. So that's what I think I thought of discussing with all of you. So we will stop here unless there is anything I have left. There is nothing as far as I understand. So yeah, chapter 13 is, while studying Queen Kunti's prayer, I would definitely say that chapter 13, reading all the qualities, this is a very important 8 to 12 verses: humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of evil, of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children. We will, later on, Kunti Devi will say this, that let my ties with my lineage of Vrishni and everything, let that be gone, and then let me be sirf your devotee. She says that in one of the verses later. And then detachment from wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness, amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me. Here Lord is saying this. Aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting, that is actually the what this means basically is the famous verse from Upadeshamrut, that avoiding the association of worldly minded people or non-devotees. That's what it means basically. Accepting the importance of self-realization. That's the following the path of bhakti. Brahmajanati Brahmana, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. So studying the scriptures, and these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So as we talked about the point of Paramahamsas, so this is what the verse which is very much related to that. As we were talking about it, Kunti Devi's prayers, if we go through Bhagavad Gita and then if we read Kunti Devi's prayers, we can actually relate to what Lord's instructions or what path of bhakti is, and how she is summarizing everything in her prayers as well, and how she glorifies the Lord. For example, later on there is a verse, Bharavataranaaya me ivona bhuvona ivo dadhu sidantya bhuribharena jato yatma bhuvartikha. So that is basically yadayadai dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So, and paritranaya sadhunam. So that's what she has summarized in that Bharavataranaaya me. So this is something, such an amazing prayers Kunti Devi has, and we will be discussing that for next few sessions. So we will stop here. And are there any questions or comments or additions from anyone? I can see Palika Mataji is also here. She has joined. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prayagraj, Prabhu. Wonderful to hear you. So much knowledge you have. I'm trying to take a little bit of knowledge. What you have given is just so much. I mean, I love Kunti Rani's prayers. You know, Solutions Prabhupada always glorify, and that's why he's written separate book about Kunti's prayer. It's so nice. And earlier you mentioned that, you know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this love of Godhead, you know, freely so much. And nobody else except Srila Prabhupada has even the same thing coming to the, in that old age, coming to the Western world, and how much he has given by his mercy. We are tiny little particle, and we are just trying to get something, and we are very, very grateful to Srila Prabhupada.
Definitely,
And yeah,
definitely.
today, this evening, you have, through Kunti's prayers, you have spoken so much. I mean, it's beyond my perception in my tiny little brain. And
No, I'm
you
just
are so knowledgeable, and it's so nice to hear your
it's very easy to repeat actually, since we have so much ready-made. It's like a what do you call, physically disabled person gets fed by a nurse. So I'm kind of that type of person who is getting fed by our great personalities like Raghunath Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Maharaj, Shivram Maharaj. Listen to them and just repeating here. So it's not my knowledge, it's just a copy paste type of thing. You can
that is wonderful. I can't do that. Only people who has knowledge, they can put it together nicely, very nicely.
Yeah.
But it's really, really nice. I'm get really enlightened today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. So, Bhaktivinoda Goswami Maharaj has written a book, his commentary on Kunti Devi's prayers. That is still in a soft copy. He is going to print it. Initially, he wrote it in Russian, and then now it is coming up in English as well. So,
Yes.
yeah, once we get that, that will be another feast to read that beautiful book he must have written. So
That day when he came for initiation, it was very nice lecture that day also.
yes, very methodical, very
Yeah,
methodical.
very wonderful. Actually, it was one of the best initiation lecture. I felt that it was very, very strong and profound, and it was really helping us to put us into our position.
Yeah.
It was
He
really.
has, in fact, anyone who wants to take initiation from him, there is a prerequisite that the person has to do the course called Praman, and they have to listen to the lectures as well as go through the books, and then once that is done, then they get the understanding of what is the reason of initiation, what is the scientific basis of Krishna consciousness, and then person gets prepared to go through the process of initiation. So yeah, it's very methodical, very structural in everything.
Very, very nice lecture that day.
Yeah. Great.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Any other comment or?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Okay,
So,
sorry. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice class, very nicely explained. Thank you. And as you say, you heard and then you are repeating the words. If someone doesn't have the knowledge, how can they listen and then repeat? You must have the knowledge. You are very knowledgeable. Anyway, thank you for that. And Prabhuji, when the book that you just mentioned on Kunti Devi's prayer, when that book comes out, would you be able to mention it on the group so that we can know where to get it, Prabhuji?
That is yet to be printed, Mataji. I was fortunate enough to do some personal service to Maharaj when he was here. So that time I had a chat about the book, because I was going to review some of the further translations and few things, or do a bit of a service. So once that comes in the book form, printed form, then yeah, I will let you know.
Thank you, Prabhuji, because I really love these prayers and I'm trying to learn it and try to understand it. That's why I would like to get the book. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
You can listen to his lectures on YouTube, and he has given so many seminars about Srimad Bhagavatam and all our scriptures. He's a profound learned scholar. So you will relish that.
Okay, can you remind me of the names of the Maharaj? I will try it down so that I don't forget.
Sure. I think in the chat I can give his name. His name is His Holiness Bhaktivignan Goswami Maharaj. So let's
Thank you.
check.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, we're going through some.
So if we see, yeah, he's the one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's his name.
Bhaktivignan Goswami. Thank you so much.
Okay, Antaji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shailesh Prabhu, I haven't heard your voice for a long time.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. They say fools only reveal themselves. Prabhupada says fools only reveal themselves when he opens his mouth. So I avoid opening my mouth nowadays.
No. So how can I serve you today?
Thank you very much for a wonderful class. Yeah, these are amongst my most favorite prayers of the Bhagavatam Kunti Maharaj. They really are. When I came into Krishna consciousness at an early age, the Kunti Maharaj's prayers book was one of the first ones that was given to me with the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And the breadth and the depth of her prayers is just so mind-blowing. It's just incredible. It really is. So thank you. I was reminded of when you mentioned something. Prabhupada was quite firm to his Western devotees at the time. The early days were all Western devotees. That the problem with you devotees, he says, is that you do not fear Maya.
Yes.
And that was so potent, and that's so true of all of us, to be honest. I mean, not just the Western devotees, but quite often, equally, if not more so, some of the Indian body devotees are equally the same. We are born into the culture and we take it for granted, and we can take it, we don't even, take the heritage of the culture seriously enough as what we should.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we should remind ourselves of that every day, that we don't take Maya seriously enough, and how potent she is and how quickly she can turn us away from bhakti. So I thought that was something important that we should try and meditate upon in a fearful way every day.
Definitely. And
but thank you for a wonderful class, bro. I just wanted to thank you for a wonderful class.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, then we will stop here. Thank you very much for your association, though it's virtual, it's very important. It's for our purification. So yes, Kunti Devi's prayers are very powerful, very wonderful, and a lot of verses are very poetic as well. Shrunvanti Gayanti Gunam. So those are very beautiful prayers. So we will be discussing that in the next few days. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. Panchakalpatarubhyascha. Yeah, sorry, Nataji, you were saying something?
Yes, Prabhu, yeah, thank you very much for your beautiful class. And I was just saying to Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, I came to heard that, like he was in the prison and he's gone through so much of the trouble. So after going through and still he come out, it's so amazing. And how vigorously he is preaching in Russia. It's
Mataji,
beautiful.
He was identified as one of the genius scholars when he was doing his molecular biology studies by KGB, by that time the USSR. And because he started studying Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada's books, they were behind him, and he was he was tortured and mentally, physically as well. Then he was in Sweden translating Srila Prabhupada's books from English to Russian. And then there was an explosion in Russia about the movement. So amazing service he has done. So amazing service. So, yeah, he's coming, I think, in summer again. So that time he will be giving a few more seminars and lectures. Okay.
Like Palika Mataji said, on the initiation day, he did give a beautiful class. I think some of the things even I said we didn't know, like, but how, what you call small things he was explaining the meaning of initiation, and so it was really, really wonderful.
Yeah. Tapa, Urdhva, Pundra, everything, all the 5 aspects of the initiation. Very important. Great. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. What a wonderful class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.